and share with you what we've learned in the past couple of weeks. And like I said, I know only a few steps more than they do about this. So in a way, it's a really excellent learning and modeling process for all of us that I just said to them, there's new FTC tech, Google it, and that's where they started. And I deliberately didn't tell them what I knew about what it was because they needed to figure it out. So, and they did. They're going to share with you what they learned today. Each of them specialized in a different area. There are 3 basic tiers of this. There's crawl, walk, and run, as they term it, which I think is a little bit pejorative. If you choose to crawl, that's fine. That's a legit way to go. And that's what we're going to talk about first. Yuan and her partner Laura, who isn't here today because she's on a college trip, figured out how to get the apps working from the Google Play Store. And then walking is Christy, right here. She, who is ironically a cross-country runner, she figured out MIT's App Inventor and is going to tell you what she learned. And then Jasmine and Louisa have been playing with Android Studio. And by playing, I mean climbing a very steep learning curve to understand what tools we need, what SDKs we need, where the sample code was, and how to get it all working together. I'd be lying if I said we've mastered all of this. We have not. If there's anyone in the room who's gotten farther than we have in any of these areas, please raise your hand and chime in and add on to what we're saying, because we are just in the foothills of understanding it all ourselves, and honestly figuring out exactly which environment we're going to use for programming for the tournament this year. Yeah, I know just enough to be dangerous about Java and Android, so that makes me tempted to try and leap all the way in, but I'm not sure that's going to be the most efficient way to go for us, so I'm still deciding. And I think we'll all still decide together as we learn it more and play with it more, because we're going to keep doing what we've been doing in addition to designing our game robot once we get back to our classroom. All right, so I'm going to kick it off to Yuan. I will, at the end of this, we have a presentation that we're going to show, and it is shared publicly for anyone who has the link, so I will flash the link on screen. I should probably also put my email address on screen. I'm dalexander@lincolnschool.org. That's DALEXANDER at lincolnschool.org. Please feel free to email me if you have questions or if you want access to this presentation and you manage to grab the link, because I'm more than happy to share what I know. And yeah, so Yuan, you want to start showing off here?
Okay. So first of all, you need to start with 2 phones. We have the ZTE Boost phones, and so what you want to do with those is, on one you should get an app called FTC Robot Controller, and another one you should get an app called FTC Driver Station. And so what happens is one of the phones, which will go onto the robot, has the FTC Robot Controller on, and that connects to a wire or cord that goes into the power distribution module, and there's a power button on here that I can press, and that will turn everything on. This connects everything on here together, and everything is connected with USB cords.
So this is the updated kit you can order from Modern Robotics once you've registered your team. These white blocks with the swanky new blue LEDs are the new black controller boxes, basically, right? This is called the Core Power Distribution Module. That was the phone that just fell on the floor. These, very similar to, you want to talk about the white, red, and black wires and what they do?
So instead of the black and red wires that we used to have before, we now have these handy-dandy wires, and they take a lot less work to connect, and they have Anderson power poles on them, which are these little red and black plastic things, and yeah.
These power wires come pre-built with the kit. You get these, but you can see they're not terrifically long. They're pretty bulky. They're heavy-duty wires, heavier gauge feeling than the ones we used before. But you can build your own. You can roll your own power wires. You can buy these power pole connectors in little sets. These little guys, they have metal pieces that go inside, and then the plastic pieces that clip on top. You also need a special crimper that will crimp those metal contacts onto the copper wire. So you slide it over, you crimp it, you snap on the black and red bits, and then you can fit into these power distribution terminals on the core power distribution module. It's takes a little doing, takes a little practice. The one thing you want to make sure about is that you get the red and the black in the right sides so that they plug in properly. You don't really want to mix your polarities on your electricity there.
Okay.
And then the white wires, what were they replacing?
Well, the white wires, we now have USB cables instead of like the black and red wires we used to connect everything with. And that is really useful because you don't need to have to screw anything in or worry about wires getting loose or broken. So, and this little module right here is called the Core Legacy module, and this lets you use like old parts that we used to have. You can see like in the ports, like they look like the ones we used to have, and so if you have any parts that we've used in the past years, you can connect it to this, and we haven't tried it yet, but it should work.
Do you mean like the sensors?
Yeah. And
Yeah, that takes the standard NXT ribbon cable connector for sensors or motor controllers. I have a heavy investment in the old Tetrix kit, and I have a class of 16 girls in intro robotics. So rather than buying all of these new white boxes for everything, I bought a bunch of legacy modules there, and I still need the phones obviously, but I can use all the other controller parts that I had before. Slightly different style of programming. There's a little more dancing from what I've seen that you need to do to program those guys, but it lets you keep your investment in your old Tetrix parts and use those. Not in competition, although I think, is it legal in competition to use the legacy module in the old stuff?
I hope so.
Yes.
I believe so.
All right, so you can go either or. You can do a legacy bot, or you can do a new bot with your new controllers, because we also have new motor and servo controllers over here, which you can see. Again, Anderson power pole, and your motor wires will take the power pole connectors. And then is this a servo? Can't really see it too well, but there it is. So, and those are the same plugs right there.
And so the legacy module is important because you need to configure this phone that connects to your robot when you first use it. So you'd go into settings and it asks you to configure the robot. We already configured it, but it has two choices, the USB bot and the legacy bot. And so the USB bot is what we're using right now because we're connecting everything with the new USB cords. But the legacy bot is if you have all your like power distribution modules and everything else connected to what lets you use your old parts. Then this phone. This phone has the FTC driver station on it, and so it's basically, instead of carrying like your laptop around when you use your joysticks, you carry this phone around instead. And so this phone connects to this USB hub, which then connects to the joysticks. And
You need a little pigtail connector here as well to connect the micro USB to the standard USB of the hub. That all comes with the kit. That's part of the modern robotics order.
And so this phone and this phone is connected through Wi-Fi, and you do that by going to settings on this one. This asks you to pair with a robot controller, and so this phone option should just show up on this one because they're close to each other. And
This is what's called a Wi-Fi direct connection. They don't have to be on any area building Wi-Fi. They just need to be, they're broadcasting their own little Wi-Fi connections. This guy becomes a Wi-Fi hotspot, and this guy connects to it. So your direct Wi-Fi connection, which should be, and I think this is the whole idea, far more stable than even Samantha was, or especially than Bluetooth was.
Yay.
I've built things out of toothpicks that were more stable than Bluetooth.
And then basically what you can do is select an operation mode, and then you just press the play button, and now everything is running, but for some reason it won't work. So
Anybody gotten this working?
noticed that the battery level on your robot controller
Yeah.
is low, and sometimes if it hasn't to us, it wouldn't go. If the battery
Yeah,
was
we're
low.
working with a 9%. I forgot to bring a charger home for our 12-volt battery, so
That has given me trouble before. If it's too low, I can't connect
it's entirely possible that's what we're up against, because everything else seems to be fine.
it. Yeah.
What you want, talk about the modes, the op modes that you just chose from. Well, I mean, just show that menu again, show that what you chose.
Okay, so it just gives you some sample operation modes, and we tried most of them, but the only one that works with the joysticks is the teleop. The other ones are asking for like a left drive or another robot controller, so, yeah, right now we're using the teleop. So, okay, that's it.
Questions about the crawl portion? These phones, by the way, they're ZTE speed. You can buy them on Best Buy or Amazon as well, about $40 to $60 a piece. I suggest if you don't have them, you get them soon, because I think a lot of FTC teams are going to be snapping them up. They need to be activated. They say Boost Mobile, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You just sort of power on through all of those activation screens and say, I don't want to use it that way. And you can use it as a standalone Android phone. Sorry, we had a question.
So how do you make it a hotspot? So you said one of the phones is a hotspot and you're not connected to a building Wi-Fi. So how's that phone providing you a network? Like to make it a hotspot because you need a cellular. You need something to give it a signal if you're not connected to something.
Kind of like a hotspot, like you're connected to like Verizon to share your Wi-Fi. That's what the phone does internally.
It's inherent in the robot controller app that they downloaded from the Play
Yeah, the
Store.
apps are just like automatically connected.
As soon as you fire up that app, part of it is making that phone a little Wi-Fi, an access point essentially, but you just connect to it with another phone. Okay?
Yeah.
You're welcome to come up and check these out afterwards. All right, let me switch back over to our computer here now. And